I am the CEO and director of Coffey Contemporary Arts, the curator for Lord Grizzly Gallery, the head curator for the Washington Pavilion Visual Arts Center. I'm a practicing artist, and I am the head instructor of Luverne Taekwondo. Well, I'm from Minnesota, born in Minnesota. Grew up about 15 minutes from here, went to middle school, high school, right in Luverne. At about 21, I enlisted in the Army. Not because I was particularly patriotic or like super sensible about why I was doing that, more because I needed insurance, and there was a commercial in the break room at work, and it was like, "Do you want to see the world?" And I was like, "Yes." They're like, "Do you want to do this?" And it was like a guy jumping out of a helicopter, and he looked really exciting. And so I walked out of that job, and I walked straight to the recruiting office, and I joined the Army. It did some of those things for me, but more than anything, I think it set me up financially to be able to have some mobility. When I got out of the military, my wife and I got married. We bought a home in St. Paul. We were expecting our child, Elijah, so we already had Alexis, our oldest, and we were expecting Elijah. And I decided that on a whim, it was like, my whole life, everyone had always told me that I was like remarkably talented as an artist. Or I just had this, I don't know if anyone has ever had that moment in school or in education where on the days when they're like, you have to do math, and you're like, oh, totally failing this. But on the days when they're like, you get to be creative, you're like, this is it for me. And I knew that, but I never really had the confidence to pursue that as a career. And I got into Yale, and I got into the Rhode Island School of Design, and I chose the Rhode Island School of Design. My wife and I sold our house, we packed up, we moved across the country, moved to Providence. I got my MFA there in sculpture, outright amazing experience. We were just so stretched living on the East Coast. And so we're like, well, let's just go back to Minnesota where we have great public education, great public television, right? Right? So we came back to Luverne for the weekend. I got a job adjunct at the University of Minnesota in the sculpture department. We intended to be here for 2 days. It's now been 6 years. We were here like 3 days. I got offered a job at a high school, and I took it. Over the last 6 years, my wife and I, have been raising our kids here. They're going to the school we grew up going to. We bought a house here in this town. And then this building came up for sale about a year after we bought that house. And I had this vision of, instead of always leaving our community to go seek culture and arts, we're like, well, what if we created a program that brought culture and arts to us? So I could bring great art from around the country or around the world to my hometown and invert the cultural narrative, right? Instead of having like always seeking the culture, we could bring it here. So we have the gallery. I have the studio space where we do public lectures, we do community education classes. This summer we probably do 15 to 20 community ed classes. We have a fully functional wood shop. It has basically every wood tool you can imagine. Upstairs, there's about a 6,000 square foot space where my wife, myself, and my kids live. We also have a space, an artist in residence space that serves as an Airbnb when artists are not in it. And then in the basement, we have about a 2,000 square foot martial arts studio. That's what's in the building. Since I make things that are so permanent, they'll likely live well beyond my life, and I enjoy the idea that someone has to reconcile with those objects. But I also like them to feel vaguely religious, to feel a little bit familiar, so that you like see it and you're like, this feels like a thing I know, but it's not the thing I know. Kind of a Debbie Downer thing, but my wife had gone to a conference in Utah where they were talking about how many years until we have to make some really active changes to circumvent climatary conditions, and it's like, 12 years, and we have irreversible climatary change. Whether you believe that or not is irrelevant. It's just like the conversation, how it was moving forward. And then I was like, so how long before no more humans? And she's like, well, if nothing changed and the Earth continued to increase based on whether we're doing it or not, we have about 150 years. And I was like, oh, well, why am I making art? What a waste of time. I should be like learning how to terraform the moon, or I should try to be figuring out something to make the world better or safer. Because the adage that I was living by was this idea that my daughter won't see her grandchildren because there just won't be a place for them to live. And whether or not that's true or not, it was this kind of stark realization of what does it mean to be making, and how conscious am I of what my work is doing or isn't doing. And I'm not being political with this work. It's purely speaking, it's a realization of what is my legacy, truly and honestly. Like what's the legacy we leave behind? And so moving back to this building as an idea of legacy perpetuation, I could have named this Heinrichs Contemporary Art, but I feel like there's a more important story to tell, which is the story of John Paul Coffey, the man who built this building, or Lord Grizzly Gallery, which is the story of the Manfred family, which is a more interesting story. And so if I can be a vehicle for those narratives, then I will. You can cart yourself all over the country and find the most beautiful vistas in Boulder, Colorado. And if you're too far from someone who loves you, then it doesn't matter. None of it does. You can live anywhere, and if nobody loves you there, it's not the place you want to be. And so it's more effective work if it's based in a heartfelt movement. You want to see some crazy Legos? All this, and then all those are separated basically by like genre. I don't know, I remember being a kid and being like, Dad, can I get this like $20 Lego set? And he'd be like, no. And then as an adult, my son's like, can I get this? And I'm like, yes, you can. Because I'm the one with the money now. Canarenzi, Minnesota was my first hometown. It's got 23 people. We moved from there to a farm with nothing. We didn't have a house. We built the house on the farm. We had no running water, no heat for the first winter that we lived there. Absolute stark poverty. To think that someone who was born into that I've been able to art has allowed me to go to objectively the best art school in the world, the oldest fine art institution in the country. And it's not because I'm particularly special. It's because art has given me access to these things. And the kind of beauty of life is maybe that art allowed me to come back here on my own terms and create my own narrative, which is, I think, different than how other people find themselves in a place. That art has given me the agency to choose.
Postcards is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota. Additional support provided by Margaret A. Cargill Philanthropies, Mark and Margaret Yakel-Julien on behalf of Shalom Hill Farms, a retreat and conference center in a prairie setting near Windham, Minnesota. On the web at shalomhillfarm.org. Alexandria, Minnesota, a year-round destination with hundreds of lakes, trails, and attractions for memorable vacations and events. More information at explorealex.com. The Lake Region Arts Council's Arts Calendar, an arts and cultural heritage-funded digital calendar showcasing upcoming art events and opportunities for artists in West Central Minnesota. On the web at lrac4calendar.org. Playing today's new music plus your favorite hits, 96.7 Cram. Online at 967cram.com.